he says something like if I wanted to, I could like put you in a vat of your mother's something. It is just the most insane thing.
Nice hair.
From the man Christopher Walken, I will resist doing an impression throughout this. The Prophecy Trilogy.
I kill firstborns while their mamas watch. The Prophecy.
This fancy packaging here is still in stock, I believe, so you can still get it. But it's one of these sandwich cuts, has Avery coined, and I like to call it now. So it goes like this. I do feel that this was less justified than it was on the Blade in the Dark packaging, although it does still interact, right? You get like this kind of bird thing going on over here, and then in the back, look at that. He's got a wing. Neat. All right, so put that slice over there. And there's no booklet or anything in here. It's just fancy packaging. But here's your slipcover. The papyrus-ass font going on. And the symbol utilized throughout the film. There's your back there. I don't know what happened here. Maybe the slipcovers are getting tighter or something, because this keeps happening to me. This one was particularly egregious, but plastic got caught on there pretty good. So there's that. There's your features and shit if you want to pause and look at that. And then it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 disc set. You got 2 4Ks and 2 Blu-rays. And yeah, you get the first prophecy on 1 4K, and then you get 2 and 3 on the second 4K, and then it's repeated for the Blu-rays. So let's talk about the prophecy films.
Very good.
So these are fairly mainstream films. You may have actually seen at least the first one already, and they have been out and about for some time on home video. They are Miramax films, I believe, as they were produced by the Weinsteins. So I think that they were kind of maybe out of print or trapped on that for a little bit, and it seems that Vinegar Syndrome has gone and liberated them. They are Paramount films, though, so I don't fucking know what I'm talking about, but I know they did get produced by the Weinsteins. So yeah, the first one, this is obviously the best of the 3 in terms of production value and amount of thought that went into it and everything. I don't know. It's entertaining for what it is. It's like a really trashy kind of mall goth movie, and also literally just like Christian fan fiction. I don't know. It's so convoluted in its theology that I think this might actually work better for somebody who doesn't know anything about theology or Christianity or like the history of the Bible and things like that. As I grew up religious, and now as a edgy atheist have actually taken a lot of interest in the historical aspects of the Bible, like the history of the Bible, and I don't know, I know a lot about this stuff. So when it gets things wrong, or it just kind of makes up its own rules, it is confusing to me. And so it was kind of hard for me to follow it, because it would be drawing upon real theology, you know, like actual like Christian lore or like catechism shit, but then also like making shit up at the same time. And so it was very confusing to me in that regard. I do feel that this is the film's weakest point, is that it is trying to be like a very serious like take on theology and Christianity, and it is trying to establish a very convoluted lore that is actually just very silly. And so I don't know. It thinks it's much smarter than it is, and it tries to be much more than it really can be. And so in that regard, it is maybe a little bit head scratching or eye roll inducing, but I think if you get past that, or if you just don't know enough about this stuff to get lost in the weeds as to like what it is they're trying to say from a theological perspective, I think you can probably get more out of this. And I know that Avery did when we watched it together. Her and my other partner, Sam, were like both fairly entertained by it and were not nearly as confused as I was because they were just rolling with the punches, you know? Although I will say, I like the idea of taking all this stuff and making fan fiction out of it. I think that that is a cool idea in concept because I know that a lot of people find this sort of thing blasphemous, though I feel like the target demographic for this is like people who go to church but don't really know that much about it. Like they go because they know they're supposed to and they want to see a cool movie that like honors God or something. I don't know. But people who are really into this, I believe, found this to be pretty blasphemous, and a lot of people were not cool with the liberties taken to the inherent word of God and, you know, this, that, and the other. At a point I was arriving to, so they watched it and just found it to be silly and entertaining, whereas I was getting caught up on the minutia of all the things that they were discussing, right? Anyway, Christopher Walken's performance in this is really something else and needs to be seen to be believed.
Look, I need your help. I'm short-staffed at the moment.
There's so many little things in this that just I struggle to understand how or why they're on screen. Like the perching thing is so bizarre if you're not used to it. So in the film, like the angels, how they just hang out is they perch on like ledges and like chair backrests and all sorts of things. I don't know. It's just bizarre. And Viggo Mortensen is in here and has one of the most insane lines of dialogue I have ever seen in a film in my life. He says something like if I wanted to, I could like put you in a vat of your mother's shit or something. It is just the most insane thing. Like if you look up, hold on, let me look it up.
I can lay you out and fill your mouth with your mother's feces. Or we can talk.
I can lay you out and fill your mouth with your mother's feces, or we can talk. This is the most insane shit I've ever heard. Jesus Christ.
I am always open, even on Christmas.
Anyway, there's stuff like that throughout. There's like a weird thing where the angels are like being fairly pedophilic to some of the children in some of these scenes, and it's very uncomfortable, and I think it's intentional, though it's not entirely clear to me. I don't know. It's a wild fucking movie. Not all of it works for me, but it is fairly entertaining, and I could see myself revisiting it. They're all in 4K, and the 4Ks all look quite good, by the way. So moving on to the second one, I actually prefer this one. It's my favorite of the trilogy because I think it recognizes what it is and it's not trying to be more than it's not. And so it really just kind of ramps up the goofiness and tones down the like convoluted lore. Christopher Walken is again having a blast being a weird little freak. Brittany Murphy is in this and actually gives a fantastic performance. Glenn Danzig is in this for a second, which is fun. And Jennifer Beal is in it. So like it actually has a pretty good cast and they're just doing a really silly movie. And it's just, I think, more entertaining than the first one. Less head scratch inducing than the first one. And I generally have a good time with it. So this is my preferred prophecy film. Yeah. And then the third one is bad. It's just really bad. It's clear that they didn't know where to go with it. They had like Christopher Walken like for a little bit longer. He's not really in it much. He just kind of meanders and looks weird and with his weird ass wig, and it's just, it doesn't really work at all, honestly. And you're kind of on board for like the first half. And at least for me, it just lost me in the second half, and I could not have cared less about what was happening. And it was just generally a complete mess. And yeah, there's not a ton of, there's some fun moments in it. There's a quote about a donut that one of the angels gives that is pretty fun and entertaining. And I don't know. I didn't care for it. It's just not, it's not great. That's really all I have to say about it. The first two I gave a 6 out of 10 each, and then the last one I gave a 3 out of 10. I don't know. It's worth watching, I guess, but it's just so boring. There's just nothing that happens in it. Yeah, that's the Prophecy trilogy. I genuinely don't really have a ton to say about it, because I just think that they're fine, and they're kind of goofy. But, I don't know. The experience of watching these was a little bit weird because they are larger budget films. These aren't like homemade fucking, you know, slashers or sexploitation made on a shoestring budget, but they're also not existence, you know? Like they're at that budget, but they're certainly not at that level of quality. And so you were kind of watching the worst of both worlds, where like you're watching a slick, high production value thing that is also just not that good. So it's removing a lot of that charm and a lot of that like auteur driven kind of weirdness. I don't know, they're fine, you know? Let's move on to the features. Okay, Prophecy Trilogy. So there's 3 making of documentaries and then a director's commentary, or a commentary for each film, and that's it. So not the most stacked, but you get like, it gets the job done. You know, you have really everything that I think you could reasonably want on here, and it's nice, I think, to watch all these interviews consolidated in an edited documentary as opposed to just like a bunch of interviews to watch back to back to back. It's nice. So the documentary on the first film is called The War in Heaven, The Making of the Prophecy. It's probably my favorite feature just overall on this whole thing. Probably like the one you want to watch if you're going to watch something. There's some just really insane anecdotes in this. Apparently the producer had a lot of trouble securing funding due to the blasphemous nature of the story. One studio actually said yes and was going to give them a good amount of money, but they said that they had to change the angels to demons. And he was just like, no, that's the whole point. The whole point of the film is that the angels are like the bad guys, and it subverts that expectation. And like, it's just any other film if you change that, right? Apparently Christopher Walken, prepare yourself because I'm about to tell you the most insane shit I've ever heard. He apparently, gets a script, and the first thing he does is he removes all of the punctuation, and that's why he talks like that. That's insane to me, but also I guess it at least creates a trademark uniqueness, right? And it explains a lot, really. But apparently my man just keeps raw garlic in his pocket, and whenever he's not actively acting, he is pacing around and munching on raw garlic at all times. That's the most insane shit I've ever heard, but apparently that's what he does. Now, the making of for the second one is called Return to Eden. It discusses a lot about Brittany Murphy and how great she was. Apparently Christopher Walken really went to bat for her, like really saw that she was extraordinarily talented and would use his clout on set to insist that she got more coverage and more screen time. Apparently this one had a much lower budget, but Christopher Walken's salary was increased. Apparently the actor for Daniel, who is an Asian American actor, was cast partially because the director really values diversity and representation, because I believe his daughter is non-white. Apparently Danzig was super nice and fun to work with. Like, everybody said that, which is shocking to me because he has a reputation for being a real piece of work, but I guess he was really nice on the Prophecy set. And then the third one is called The War on Earth, The Making of the Prophecy 3. The guy who plays the kid in the film is still like this very like queer looking punk, which I really like. He's got like a big industrial piercing and really big earrings. Like he looks like a punk kid still. Apparently Christopher Walken was the one who insisted on this ridiculous wig that he wears in the film. And, you know, they had to shoot the scene of like the giant pile of naked bodies, and apparently the makeup artist just walked up to the director and was like, I'd like to be in that pile. And he was like, okay. And then she took all her clothes off and went in the pile and got to be in the film a little bit. So that's fun, right? And then there's a commentary track for the first one with the director, and the producer, Joel Soisson, is the kind of connective tissue and the through line between all of this. He's in all of the documentaries and he is on all of the commentaries. He's really seemed to be the primary vision for this and the primary like glue holding this franchise together. The commentary tracks are all fine. I kind of skipped around on especially the second and third one. The second one is with the director Greg Spence and the producer, and then the third one is with the director Patrick Lussier and the producer. The third one especially was rough because I will not lie, the director's voice is grating. The way he talks is really tough to listen to, so I didn't get very far on that one. I don't know, they're fine. They're serviceable commentaries, so that's that on the Prophecy. You know what, there is one more anecdote I wanted to share about the producer, where he said that during the making of the first one, the producer was on set and Christopher Walken was like, hey man, can I talk to you real quick? And he pulled him aside, and then he just fucking laid into him and was yelling at him and was like, this is the most like amateur hour piece of shit production I've ever been a part of. You need to get your shit together or I'm walking. And that was it. He's like, okay, glad I had this talk with you. And then that was that. I guess the producer felt that he then made some adjustments and they didn't have to have a talk again. But he says that he was really grateful for that interaction, and he felt that that was a really professional and kind way to go about it, because a lot of stars will berate you like on set in front of everybody and make a big show of it, but he wanted it to be like a more private interaction that actually gave some feedback, right? Thought that was interesting. Okay, that's The Prophecy. Moving along. Remember that Satan loves all of their children. Bye.
I'd like to take a moment to thank our newest patrons: Caroline, Karma Popo, Just the Discs, Lacey Silberman, Leona, Michael Hutchins, Nicholas, Noel, Paige, and Phil P. I'd also like to thank our accomplices: Anthony Listro, The Boogeyman's Closet, Carlin Cook, Deanna Vave, The Disconnected, Dustin Putman, George Strang, Julie Humphreys, Nosferatu 1334, Peppa Crab, Sasha Bobasha Saurus, and Stephen Perkins. If you'd like to be counted amongst their ranks, the link is in the description.